Why is Goblin Piledriver never sad? Because he has protection from the blues.
This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. With free weekly content and free shipping over $100, you can save 5% site-wide by using the promo code MTGMudsta. I'm also sponsored by Face to Face Games, Canada's premier Magic the Gathering store. Using the promo code MTGMudsta will get you 5% off site-wide, with eligible orders getting free shipping Canada-wide. If you're looking for a direct way to help the channel, please consider joining my Patreon and becoming a member of the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game finds us once more in my basement, with Nick playing Baeloth and Raised by Giants. He's hoping to goad the table into attacking each other, and then finish off whoever's left. Max is playing Hofri, which is Boros Spirit Tribal, with kind of a token/reanimator sub-theme, which is pretty spicy to see. MJ is playing Saryth, which is just kind of mono-green legendary good stuff, and I'm playing Krenko, which, if you don't know what the deck does, well, I have some news for you, it makes a lot of goblins. Nick wins a die roll and starts us off. He plays a mountain and casts a Soul Ring, and then taps the Soul Ring to cycle Ash Barrens. Max plays a Plains and casts his own Soul Ring. MJ plays a Forest and casts Burgeoning. I play a Myriad Landscape for turn, and so does MJ from the Burgeoning trigger. Nick plays a Wooded Foothills, which lets MJ drop a Forest. Nick then cracks the Foothills and puts to field a Stomping Ground, taking 2 so it comes in untapped. He then taps out for Vengeful Ancestor, passing to Max. Max draws and plays a Mountain, and MJ gets to play a Forest. Max then casts a Venerable Warsinger, and with the one colorless left from Soul Ring, also cycles Ash Barrens, going to find a basic to hand. MJ draws for turn, but strangely has no land to play. They then play a Guardian Project in their main phase, and pass it to me. I play a Snow-Covered Mountain, tapping 2 for Cheering Fanatic. Nick has a Forest, and brings out Baeloth. This has everything with power less than Baeloth, being goaded as long as Baeloth is out. Nick then swings the Ancestor at me, goading Max's Warsinger. I then take the hit, and Nick passes. Max plays a Plains for turn, and hits MJ with the goaded Warsinger, taking 1 from the Vengeful Ancestor, seeing a goaded creature attacking. Max then drops Hofri in his second main phase, and passes turn. MJ casts an Oracle of Moldiah in their main phase, drawing from the Guardian Project as it enters. They then play a Mosswarp Bridge off the top, and hide away a card from their top 4, and with nothing else, pass to me. I swing my Cheering Fanatic at MJ after they agree not to block, naming Krenko. It doesn't really matter what I've named though, since I've only got 1 red mana, but hope to fix that by casting a Skirk Prospector and pass to Nick. Nick has a Forest for turn, and casts the second half of his pairing, Raised by Giants. Most everything is now goaded at this point, and Nick swings the Ancestor at Max and Baeloth at MJ. With the Ancestor on attack trigger, he adds another goad to the Oracle of Moldiah, and both Max and MJ take their hits before Nick passes turn. Max plays an Opal Palace and moves to combat. He has to swing because of Big Baeloth, and the Warsinger goes at MJ while Hofri goes at me, with Max taking 2 from the Vengeful Ancestor, triggering. MJ and I just take our hits, and Max passes. MJ casts a Saryth in their main phase, drawing the Arboroth off the top of their library, and reveals Throne of the High City. They then play that off the top thanks to the Oracle. Moving to combat, the Oracle goes at me, dealing 1 to MJ, and I take the 2. I draw, but still can't find a land. Why does this keep happening to me? I swing at Max, naming Arcane Signet with the Cheering Fanatic trigger, and I take 2 from the Vengeful Ancestor triggers, and Max takes the hit. In my second main phase, thanks to the Fanatic's reduction, I sacrifice the Goblin to the Prospector for a red, and use that red for the Arcane Signet. I then tap the Signet and my Snow-Covered Mountain to sacrifice the Myriad Landscape, going to find 2 more Snow-Covered Mountains and hopefully get myself back in the game. I also have a bit of an epiphany.
I guess making a bunch of tokens with Krenko and swinging with them when they're all goaded, it's not in my best interest, so yep, I'll pass.
Nick draws and casts a Swiftfoot Boots. and then moves to gear up Baeloth. Max isn't thrilled with this plan, using swords to plowshares on the Dark Elf instead. This has Nick gaining 10 life as his commander gets exiled. And Nick then casts a Shadow Sphere and puts it onto the Vengeful Ancestor. Moving to combat, the now geared up Dragon Spirit goes at Max. He gets the on attack trigger, goading Hofri, and Max then takes the hit. Max plays a Plains and goes to combat. He swings Hofri at me because of the goad, and the Warsinger goes at Nick. Nick and I both take our hits, with Max still losing one from attacking with a goaded creature. Max then filters up Plains to the Opal Palace for the second red he needs to help cast Scourge of the Thrones, and passes to MJ. MJ draws, revealing Craterhoof Behemoth off the top. They cast an Arbor Elf, drawing the hoof and revealing a forest. They play it and reveal another one, playing that one as well. Protean Hulk is then sitting on the top, and MJ casts an Oran Frostfang, drawing the Hulk as it enters from the Guardian Project. Going to combat, the Oracle heads at Nick for 2, with MJ drawing a card from the Oran Frostfang trigger. I play a tap Flamekin Village, and then pay 2 mana for Impact Tremors. I then tap 2 more for Grenzo Havoc Raiser, dealing 1 to my opponents as Grenzo enters. Moving to combat, I hit Nick with my Skirk Prospector, and choose to exile a card from his library with the Grenzo trigger. Nick plays a Forest, and recasts Baeloth. He doesn't have enough to move the boots over thankfully, but he does swing the Vengeful Ancestor at me, and goes the Scourge of the Throne. The Vengeful Ancestor then connects, gaining Nick some life, and he passes turn. Max has a Slayer's Stronghold as his land drop, and filters through the Opal Palace once more, so he can cast a Combustible Gearhulk. He has Nick make the choice, and Nick says to mill his top 3. Max does so, and Nick takes a total of 10 damage. Moving to combat, the Scourge goes at MJ, while the rest go at me, which has Max losing 3 life from the Vengeful Ancestor triggers. MJ has a Fog though, and casts Obscuring Haze to stop the combat damage, and with nothing else, Max passes. MJ draws, and plays a Forest off the top, and then another, revealing Uvenwald Hydra. They cast an Eternal Witness, returning the hand the Obscuring Haze from their graveyard, and drawing the Hydra from the Guardian Project. They've got enough now for the Mosswarp Bridge activation, and gets to put out Azusa from underneath it. MJ also gets to draw again from the Guardian Project, and gets to play some extra forests off the top thanks to Azusa being out. MJ then casts an Uvenwald Hydra, and goes to find a land from their library, putting to field Gaia's Cradle. MJ then uses Saryth's ability to untap the Cradle, and counts up their creatures, and then taps the Cradle to make 8 green mana. They use it for Woodfall Primus, blowing up my Impact Tremors as it enters. And then drawing from the Guardian Project. They then tap the Arbor Elf to untap a forest, and play a Miri's Guile. Moving to combat, they swing the Frostfang and Oracle at me, losing 2 life from the Ancestor trigger. I then take the hits, with MJ drawing cards before passing turn. My turn has me Vandal Blasting Shadow Sphere, and then casting Thousand Year Elixir before passing to Nick. Nick plays a command tower, and we realize that I should have attacked, and Max would have been where I went. He says he wouldn't have blocked, and I exile his top 2. We then continue Nick's turn as he casts a Hunted Troll, giving me the tokens, and a Dragonborn Champion before passing to Max. Max plays a land, and MJ drops a forest from the Virgining trigger. Max then goes all out at MJ, taking 4 from the Vengeful Ancestry, but MJ is ready with the Obscuring Haze once more. MJ then moves to blocks, which is when we realize that Obscuring Haze doesn't stop the damage from their creatures, only everyone else's. This has the Scourge and Gearhulk dying, and they get exiled by Hofri's ability and come back as spirit tokens. Max has Nick picking again, and this time Nick lets Max draw 3 cards. With nothing else, Max passes. MJ untaps and uses Miri's Guile to rearrange their top 3 and then draw for turn. We then see an acidic slime coming in, blowing up Raised by Giants, and drawing from the project trigger on MJ's side of the board. They reveal a Staff of Domination off the top, which has them then casting Magus of Candelabra, who draws a card as it enters. They then cast the staff, and once it's out, activate it to draw a card. Max responds to this by flashing out a Cathar Commando, and activates/sacrifices it to try and destroy the staff. MJ responds to this by untapping the staff with its own ability, and then using the staff, Saryth, and Gaia's Cradle to generate infinite green mana. They then use that mana to start drawing cards by tapping the staff to draw, and then untapping it with its own ability. Max responds to the second draw attempt by casting Rootborn Defenses, and populates the Gear Hulk token, and this time picks MJ, who has Max drawing 3 cards. Nothing he can draw stops this though, and MJ will draw out their library, cast a lot of creatures, and then finish us all off with a massive Craterhoof Behemoth for lethal. Game review time. I don't know why this keeps happening to me regardless of what deck I play, but I seem to be getting stuck on 2 lands most games. Part of me wonders if I should have been more aggressive with the Skirk Prospector, but I feel like if I sacrificed all of my goblins to get Krenko out early on, it would have made him a huge target for removal and set me back so far. I was really impressed with Baeloth and Raised by Giants. Often I find that they're both very expensive, but Nick was able to get enough ramp to get it going, and as you saw, it was pretty cool making your opponents attack each other. He also got a decent amount of value out of that Vengeful Ancestor, pinging everyone based on how many attackers they swung at each other. Max's Hofri deck was okay, although I'm pretty sure we've seen Mathieu play it to a much better effect. I like Hofri a lot, it was one of my favorite cards to play with Girid, and I don't think Max should have done anything differently. It was just unfortunate that he was goaded into attacking MJ and not Nick. MJ's Saryth deck was basically mono-green good stuff, but it had some decent synergy with untapping creatures, as you saw, with things like Magus of the Candelabra and its Staff of Domination. I know people aren't a huge fan of the price tag on Gaia's Cradle, but a Nykthos would have worked just as well in this case. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.